Sarah stood silently, hands clasped. You believe you were helping. You believe you were showing mercy. But mercy requires consent. Compassion requires respect for autonomy. You gave neither. You decided who lived and who died based on your own judgment, your own belief that you knew better than the patients, better than their families, better than God himself. The judge paused. 23 people are dead because of you. 23 families are destroyed, and you show no remorse. You still believe you did the right thing. That terrifies me more than anything else in this case. Sarah's lawyer started to speak. The judge held up her hand. Ms. Chen, you are hereby sentenced to 23 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison. You will never practice nursing again. You will never have the opportunity to play God with another human life. Sarah's face didn't change. Accepting, peaceful, like this was just another part of her journey. As they led her away, she looked at the families. I'm sorry you're in pain, she said, but they're not suffering anymore. That's what matters. Even then, even after everything, she still believed she'd done the right thing. Sarah Chen is currently serving her sentence at Decatur Correctional Center in Illinois. She'll die in prison. She's accepted that. From what I hear, she's a model prisoner, helps in the infirmary, counsels other inmates, still believes she's helping people. Chicago Memorial Hospital faced multiple lawsuits. They settled out of court for undisclosed amounts. The chief of medicine, Dr. Patricia Walsh, resigned. She blamed herself for not seeing the pattern earlier. New protocols were implemented across Illinois hospitals. Stricter medication tracking, mandatory review of unexpected deaths, flag systems for patterns in mortality rates. But the damage was done. 23 families destroyed, trust in healthcare shattered. William Turner recovered fully from his pneumonia. He became an advocate for patient safety, speaks at medical conferences about his experience. Trust your instincts, he tells people. If something feels wrong, it probably is. As for me, this case changed how I look at medical professionals. I used to trust doctors and nurses implicitly. Now I watch. I question. I verify. Because Sarah Chen wasn't a monster. She wasn't evil. She was a dedicated nurse who genuinely believed she was helping. And that's what makes her so dangerous. She looked like compassion. She acted like mercy. But she was death. Angel of death. Killers are rare, but they exist. Medical professionals who decide they know when it's time for someone to die. They're hard to catch because their victims are already sick, already expected to die eventually. Nobody questions a death in ICU. Nobody runs toxicology on a 90-year-old with heart disease. That's how Sarah Chen killed 23 people over 5 years, without anyone noticing. Until William Turner fought back. Here's what you need to know. If you have a loved one in the hospital, ask questions. Who's administering medications? What are they giving? When? Why? Be present. Don't leave your loved one alone for extended periods, especially at night. Most angel of death killings happen during night shifts, when supervision is minimal. Trust your instincts. If your recovering loved one suddenly takes a turn for the worse, ask why. Demand explanations. Get second opinions. Review death certificates. Sudden cardiac arrest in a recovering patient? Question it. Request autopsy. Demand toxicology. And most importantly, don't assume medical professionals are beyond suspicion. Most are heroes, but some play God. If this investigation opened your eyes to a danger you never knew existed, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell. Share this video with anyone who has elderly family members in hospitals or care facilities. Drop a comment if you've ever questioned a loved one's death. Your story matters. I'm Marcus Stone. I investigate the cases that expose the darkness hiding in plain sight. Sarah Chen worked in a place of healing. She wore scrubs and a smile. She held hands and spoke softly. And she killed 23 people. The scariest monsters don't hide in the shadows. They work night shifts. They have access to your loved ones. They have the tools to kill. and they believe they're doing you a favor. William Turner is alive because he fought back, because he refused to be a victim, because he knew something was wrong. 23 others didn't get that chance. Don't let your loved one be number 24. Stay vigilant. Ask questions. Trust your instincts, because the next angel of death could be smiling at you right now, telling you everything will be okay. You killed 23 people because you thought you knew better than they did. Sarah's calm cracked, just a little. I'm a nurse. I've watched hundreds of people die. Slow, painful, prolonged deaths because families can't let go. Because doctors are afraid of lawsuits. Because our system values quantity of life over quality. I fixed that. I gave them the death they deserved. The death they deserved. Or the death you decided they deserved. Silence. Then Sarah said quietly, "They're at peace now. That's what matters." After Sarah's confession, the FBI launched a full investigation into Chicago Memorial Hospital. What they found was systemic failure on multiple levels. The hospital administration had noticed the pattern of deaths on Sarah's shifts, but they'd attributed it to her being assigned to the sickest patients, never investigated further. The pharmacy had never flagged the missing potassium chloride. Sarah had been taking small amounts over years, never enough to trigger inventory alarms. Other nurses had noticed Sarah was always the one with patients who passed peacefully, but they thought she was just good at her job, comforting, present. Families had praised Sarah. She'd been with their loved ones at the end, held their hands, made them comfortable. Nobody suspected she'd killed them. The FBI interviewed every family of the 23 victims. The reactions ranged from devastation to denial to rage. Some families couldn't believe it. She was so kind, so caring. There must be a mistake. Some families were destroyed. You're telling me my mother was murdered, that those last moments weren't peaceful, that she was killed. Some families were angry. We trusted that hospital. We trusted her. And she murdered our father. One family, the daughter of Harold Simmons, said something that stuck with me. Part of me is grateful we didn't know. We thought Dad died peacefully. We mourned, but we weren't traumatized. Now I'll never stop seeing her face, wondering if he knew, if he was scared, if he suffered. That's the thing about these cases. The victims are dead, but the families, they're victims too, and they have to live with it forever. Sarah Chen's trial began 8 months later. The prosecution had overwhelming evidence: confession, toxicology reports, pattern of deaths, hospital records. Sarah's defense attorney tried to argue diminished capacity, that years of watching patients suffer had broken something in her, that she genuinely believed she was helping. The prosecution argued premeditation, serial murder, God complex, 23 counts of first-degree murder. The trial lasted 4 weeks. The evidence was devastating. Sarah's own words played on video. I helped them pass peacefully. I gave them the death they deserved. Families testified. Photos of the victims. Vibrant, alive, loved, then dead. Murdered by someone they trusted. Expert witnesses explained how potassium chloride works, how Sarah would have known exactly how much to inject, how she'd chosen it specifically because it was untraceable. Psychiatric experts testified about angel of death syndrome, how some medical professionals develop a twisted sense of mercy, how they rationalize killing as helping. Sarah took the stand in her own defense. It was a mistake. I'm not a monster, she said, voice trembling. I'm a nurse. I took an oath to do no harm, and I kept that oath. Harm is letting someone suffer when you can end that suffering. Harm is prolonging a life that has no quality. I didn't harm anyone. I freed them. The prosecutor cross-examined. Miss Chen, did Patricia Patterson ask you to kill her? No, but... Did Harold Simmons ask you to kill him? He told me he missed his wife. That's not the question. Did he ask you to kill him? No. Did any of your 23 victims explicitly ask you to end their lives? No. But I knew. You knew. You decided. You killed. Without consent. Without authority. Without remorse. That's not mercy, Miss Chen. That's murder. Sarah had no answer. The jury took 6 hours to deliberate. Guilty on all 23 counts of first-degree murder. Sentencing was 2 months later. I attended with William Turner, the survivor who'd stopped Sarah and exposed her crimes. The courtroom was packed. Families of the victims, hospital staff, media. Everyone wanted to see justice for the angel of death. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Catherine Morrison, looked at Sarah Chen with something close to sadness. Miss Chen, I've presided over many murder trials. I've seen killers motivated by greed, by rage, by hatred. But I've never seen someone like you. Someone who killed with kindness, with compassion, with a smile. Accessible, expected, invisible. Agent Rivera got his warrant. Time to bring Sarah Chen in. We planned the arrest for the end of her shift. Didn't want to spook her during patient care. Didn't want a hostage situation in a hospital full of vulnerable people. I watched from the security office as Sarah Chen finished her rounds. She was everything Dr. Walsh had described. Professional, caring, attentive. She held an elderly patient's hand, spoke softly, smiled warmly. She looked like an angel of mercy, not an angel of death. At 7:15 a.m., as Sarah was leaving through the staff exit, 4 FBI agents and 2 Chicago PD detectives moved in. Sarah Chen, FBI, you're under arrest for the murder of Patricia Patterson. Sarah's face went white. For just a second I saw it. Not fear, not surprise. Relief. Like she'd been waiting for this. Like she'd been carrying a weight for 5 years and it was finally being lifted. She didn't resist, didn't run. Just put her hands behind her back and let them cuff her. As they walked her past the security office where I was watching, she looked up at the camera, looked right at me, and smiled. Not a threatening smile, not an evil smile, a peaceful smile. This woman had killed 23 people, and she was at peace with it. That's when I knew. This wasn't going to be a normal interrogation. Sarah Chen wanted to talk. She wanted to explain. She wanted us to understand. If you're still watching, hit that like button right now. This confession is one of the most chilling things I've ever heard, and it came from someone who genuinely believed she was doing good. Subscribe so you don't miss how this case ends, because the justice system's response is going to shock you. Sarah Chen waived her right to an attorney. She wanted to talk immediately. Agent Rivera and I watched through the one-way glass as she sat calmly, hands folded, waiting. The interrogating agent, Lisa Park, entered. Miss Chen, do you understand your rights? Yes. You've waived your right to an attorney? Yes. I don't need one. I want to explain. Explain what? Why I helped them. Helped who? The patients. The ones in pain. The ones suffering. The ones ready to die but being kept alive by machines and medications and false hope. Agent Park kept her voice neutral. Miss Chen, are you saying you killed patients at Chicago Memorial Hospital? I helped them pass peacefully. There's a difference. How many patients did you help? Sarah thought for a moment. 23 over 5 years. But I didn't help everyone. Only the ones who needed it. Only the ones who were ready. How did you know they were ready? I could see it in their eyes. The exhaustion, the pain, the acceptance. They'd look at me, and I'd know. They wanted peace. I gave it to them. How? Potassium chloride. Quick. Painless. Looks like natural heart failure. Their families thought they died peacefully in their sleep, which they did. I made sure of that. Agent Park leaned forward. Patricia Patterson. Tell me about her. Mrs. Patterson. Sweet lady. Pneumonia. She was improving physically, yes. But she was miserable. Scared. She told me she didn't want to go back to the nursing home. Said she'd rather die. So I helped her. She told you she wanted to die. Not in those exact words, but I understood. After 12 years as an ICU nurse, you learn to read people. You know when someone is suffering, when they're tired, when they're ready to let go. What about Harold Simmons? He was recovering from hip surgery. Mr. Simmons was 84. He'd fallen multiple times in the past year. His wife had died 6 months earlier. He was depressed, told me he missed her, that life wasn't worth living anymore. I helped him reunite with her. Agent Park's voice was harder now. Evelyn Martinez. Broken wrist. She was going home in 2 days. Sarah's expression didn't change. Ms. Martinez was 91, living alone, terrified of falling again. She asked me if dying hurt. I told her it didn't, and I showed her. She didn't ask you to kill her. She didn't have to. I knew. William Turner. He fought back. Why? For the first time, Sarah showed emotion, frustration. Mr. Turner wasn't ready. I misread him. He was still fighting, still angry. I shouldn't have tried. That was a mistake. A mistake, yes. I only help the ones who are ready. Mr. Turner wasn't ready. I apologize for that. Agent Park sat back. Miss Chen, do you understand that what you did is murder? That you killed 23 people without their consent? Sarah shook her head. It wasn't murder. It was mercy. Those patients were suffering. The medical system keeps people alive long past when they should be allowed to die. I freed them from that suffering. I gave them peace. Did any of them explicitly ask you to kill them? No. But did any of them sign DNR orders? Refuse treatment? Some did. Some didn't. But that's not the point. I could see. You decided. You played God. She was holding it so I couldn't see. Did she inject anything before you stopped her? No. I caught her before she got to the IV port. That syringe was evidence, if it still existed. One more question. Have you noticed anything unusual about this ICU? Any other patients dying unexpectedly? William's expression darkened. The woman in the room next to me, Mrs. Patterson. She was doing fine, talking, laughing with her family. Sarah was her nurse too. Night shift. Next morning, dead. Heart failure, they said. But she was fine the night before. When did Mrs. Patterson die? 3 nights ago. About 3 a.m., according to the nurse who told me. There it was. Another victim. Same nurse, same time. Mr. Turner, I'm going to need you to do something difficult. I need you to pretend you believe their story, that you were confused, delirious. If Sarah Chen thinks you're a threat, she might disappear before we can build a case. You want me to act like a confused old man? I want you to stay alive long enough for me to catch her. William nodded slowly. All right, but you catch this bitch. You understand? She tried to kill me, and I guarantee I'm not the first. He wasn't. Not by a long shot. I spent the next 2 days buried in Chicago Memorial's records. Dr. Walsh gave me access to everything. Personnel files, patient records, death certificates, shift schedules. What I found was chilling in its consistency. Sarah Chen had been working the night shift in ICU for 5 years. During that time, 87 patients had died in the ICU. That's normal for a critical care unit. Elderly, sick, expected deaths. But 23 of those deaths had 3 things in common. 1. Sarah Chen was the assigned nurse. 2. Death occurred between 2:45 a.m. and 3:15 a.m. 3. Cause of death was sudden cardiac arrest, or heart failure. I pulled the medical charts for all 23. The pattern was even more disturbing. 15 of the patients were listed as terminal or expected to die within weeks. Those deaths didn't raise suspicions. Families were prepared. Doctors expected it. But 8 of the patients, they were recovering, expected to be discharged within days. Elderly, yes, but not dying, like Mrs. Patterson. Pneumonia, improving, due to go home in a week. Dead at 3:07 a.m., Sarah Chen on duty. Like Harold Simmons. Hip replacement recovery, doing well. Dead at 2:52 a.m., Sarah Chen on duty. Like Evelyn Martinez. Broken wrist, observation for concussion, stable. Dead at 3:13 a.m., Sarah Chen on duty. These people weren't dying of natural causes. They were being killed. I called my contact at the FBI, Special Agent Marcus Rivera, who specializes in medical serial killers. Rivera, Marcus, it's Stone. I need you to run a name through VICAP. Sarah Chen, nurse, Chicago Memorial Hospital. I think she's killed at least 23 patients. Jesus, what's your evidence? Pattern, same time of death, same nurse on duty. Victims ranging from terminal to recovering. All elderly, all ICU. That's circumstantial, we need hard evidence. I know. That's why I'm calling. I need forensic toxicology on the bodies. I think she's using something that mimics natural heart failure. Most of these victims are buried or cremated by now. Start with the recent ones. Mrs. Patterson died 3 days ago. She's at the county morgue pending release to the funeral home. If we can prove she was murdered, we can get warrants for the others. I'll make the call. But Stone, if you're right about this, serial killer nurses are rare, and they're usually motivated by power, control, or some twisted mercy complex. My money's on mercy complex. The words she said to William Turner, "It's time to let go." That's not a killer. That's someone who thinks they're helping. Angel of death syndrome. They think they're easing suffering, but they're really just playing God. Exactly. And she's been playing God for 5 years. The toxicology report on Mrs. Patterson came back 3 days later. Dr. Walsh called me at midnight, voice shaking. "Mr. Stone, the medical examiner found it. Potassium chloride. Lethal dose. Injected directly into the IV line. Potassium chloride, the perfect murder weapon for a nurse. It's used in hospitals legitimately. Small doses treat deficiencies. Large doses cause cardiac arrest. And it's nearly impossible to detect in autopsy because potassium occurs naturally in the body. By the time someone dies, potassium levels rise anyway as cells break down. The only reason they found it in Mrs. Patterson was because they were specifically looking for it, and because she died so recently. How many other bodies can we exhume? 4. The others were cremated or buried too long ago. But 4 is enough if they all show the same thing. We got court orders. Exhumed 4 bodies. Ran the same toxicology panel, 4 for 4. All showed lethal doses of potassium chloride. Sarah Chen had been murdering patients for 5 years with a drug that was sitting right there in the medication room. 23 patients, dead. All the same hospital, all the same ICU ward. All died at exactly 3 a.m., all with the same nurse holding their hand. Families thought it was peaceful. Doctors called it natural. For 5 years, nobody questioned it, until the 24th victim opened his eyes during the injection, saw her face, heard her whisper, "It's time to let go," and survived to tell me everything. She wasn't a serial killer. She was an award-winning nurse. The patients loved her. The families praised her. The hospital trusted her. And she murdered 23 people with a smile on her face, because she thought she was saving them. My name is Marcus Stone, and this is the story of how I caught the angel of death. If you think hospitals are safe, you need to hear this story. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to tell you will change how you look at healthcare forever. This nurse killed 23 people, and she thought she was doing the right thing. Drop a like if you're ready for the truth. The call came at 6:47 a.m. Not the usual time for these cases. But nothing about this one would be usual. "Mr. Stone, my name is Dr. Patricia Walsh. I'm the chief of medicine at Chicago Memorial Hospital. We have a situation. A patient is claiming one of our nurses tried to kill him last night. I was already getting dressed." "What do you mean, tried?" "William Turner, 79 years old, recovering from pneumonia in our ICU. He says Nurse Sarah Chen injected him with something at 3 a.m. Says she told him it was time to let go. But Mr. Turner is very much alive, and very insistent this wasn't a hallucination. What does Nurse Chen say? She says Mr. Turner was delirious from fever, that she gave him his prescribed medication, that he's confused. Do you believe her? Silence. Then Mr. Stone, I've been a doctor for 30 years. I know the difference between a confused patient and someone telling the truth. And Mr. Turner, he's telling the truth. But I can't prove it. Not yet. That's why I'm calling you. 40 minutes later, I was at Chicago Memorial. Dr. Walsh met me in her office, looking like she hadn't slept. Before you talk to Mr. Turner, you need to understand something. Sarah Chen is one of our best nurses. 12 years with this hospital. Exemplary record. Patients love her. Families praise her. She's won awards for compassionate care. But when I pulled her employment records this morning, I noticed something. In the last 5 years, 23 patients have died on her shifts. All elderly, all in ICU, all at 3 a.m., all ruled natural causes. My blood went cold. 23, heart failure, respiratory failure, cardiac arrest. All expected complications for elderly ICU patients. Nobody questioned it. But Mr. Stone, when I looked at the pattern, same nurse, same time, same age group, over 5 years. That's not coincidence. That's a pattern. That's murder. William Turner was sitting up in his hospital bed, fully alert, arms crossed, pissed off. This was not a confused old man. This was a retired Marine Corps sergeant who knew exactly what had happened to him. You? The investigator? He asked before I could introduce myself. Marcus Stone, private investigator. Dr. Walsh hired me to look into your claim. It's not a claim. It's fact. That nurse tried to kill me last night. I pulled up a chair. Tell me exactly what happened. Every detail. William's jaw tightened. I woke up at 2:58 a.m. Needed to piss. Reached for the call button. That's when she came in. Nurse Sarah, smiling. Always smiling. Said she had my medication. But it wasn't time for medication. My meds are at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. I know because I've been here 4 days. Good. Detail-oriented. Reliable witness. What did she do? She had a syringe. Said it would help me rest. I said I didn't need to rest. I was wide awake. She got closer. Put her hand on my arm. And she said, Mr. Turner, you've lived a good life. Your body is tired. It's time to let go. The hair on my neck stood up. Those exact words. Exact words. I'm a Marine. We don't forget things under pressure. I asked what the hell she was talking about. She didn't answer. Just started pushing the syringe toward my IV line. What did you do? William smiled grimly. I grabbed her wrist. Tight. Told her to get the hell away from me. She looked surprised, like nobody had ever fought back before. Then she pulled away, said I was confused, and left. 30 seconds later, she came back with another nurse and a doctor. Started telling them I was delirious, aggressive, hallucinating. Did you tell them what really happened? Damn right I did. They didn't believe me. Said I was confused from the fever. But I know what I saw, and I know what she tried to do. I believed him. Everything about his story rang true. The specifics, the timing, the words she'd said. Mr. Turner, I need to ask you something important. Did you see what was in the syringe? Clear liquid. no label visible.